maybe a little... Okay, good news, everybody. I know things have been a little bit hectic as of late because of the move. I was actually really worried I wasn't going to be able to do any Halloween-themed videos this year, but it's okay. Through the magic of my new studio and my technical skills, because I'm teching, get it? That's why I named myself Tekking, because I have a master's degree in technical stuff, so of course, yes. At the press of just a button on this remote, my new studio will activate Halloween mode. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready, Barry? Are you ready? Oh, the plant is still here. Okay, well, I thought that was just going to be a one-off, but alright, whatever. Away we go! Oh, okay. Somehow I have wired my entire studio's electrical into this remote. That's actually very impressive because I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know where you would start to do that, actually. Alright, hold on. Let me just try pushing another button here. Welcome back, everyone, to Horoween. Yes, so welcome back to that special time of year called Horoween, named after Perona's laughter style and her devil fruit, you know, the Horo Horo no Mi, with the little ghosts floating around and stuff. Can we get some ghosts? Can we put some ghosts in here and post? Oh yeah, look at those ghosts. Check out those ghosts, right? Okay. Alright, so this year for Horoween, as you can imagine, things are going to be a little bit different, just because of the move and everything, so I don't have anything big and bombastic for you, so, you know what? I'm going to go back to the basics, and what is the basics? Well, the basic in terms of a Halloween special for me is the Simpsons Halloween specials, the Treehouse of Horror, okay? I loved them growing up, and so I love the format of the 3 different stories, so let's just do that today with this episode of Horoween. I don't know if all the episodes are going to be like this. This is literally being cobbled together as the videos come out. So I know you just saw episode 1. I have no idea what episode 2 or episode 3 or episode 4 or how many even episodes there's going to be. But if you happen to have any suggestions after this one, please let me know down in the comments below. Okay, we're building this bridge as we go. So a couple of weeks ago, I did talk about this on a live stream that I did, and a lot of people suggested, how about reading some like creepypastas or like morbid One Piece stories, and so that's what we're going to do today. 3 different stories, each revolving around one of the Straw Hats that's going to take a very dark, morbid turn. I don't know how graphic these will be, because I actually have not written out the stories. This is not like me typing out a creepypasta and just reading it to you, like, you know, Zoro grabbed the knob and turned the door, but it was the wrong way. Ooh, no, this is literally me just like writing down the general premise of each story right here, and just being like, okay, that's the premise of the story. I'm just going to build a story about it right as I go, okay? Because that's how I do things, right? And so with that being said, the first story I have for you today actually does involve Zoro, and in keeping with typical Treehouse of Horror fashion, I'm going to name each segment. However, I have not put any thought into the names of each segment, so I'm just going to have to go ahead with this as well. For this first segment, I'm gonna say, Zoro's Nightmare. Zoro's Nightmare, that's quick, easy, to the point, makes a lot of sense. Okay, so, Tekking101 storytelling mode. Alright, so, this particular story takes place after the events of the Wano arc, you know, at the very end, which means I have to come up with some headcanon here because we're not at that point in the story yet. So after a very long and storied battle with both Kaido and King, one of the All-Stars, Zoro manages to succeed and he defeats King, okay? So afterwards, though, his trusty cursed sword, the Sandai Katetsu, is shattered apart on King's mighty BDSM suit or whatever. It's completely destroyed. Zoro is very distraught. However, before the Straw Hats leave Wano, Tenguyama Hitetsu, possibly the greatest swordsmith that ever lived in Wano, possibly in the entire world, presents Zoro with the Nidai Katetsu, the second generation, forged by Kotetsu, the descendant of Kitetsu and the ancestor of Hitetsu. Yes, and he gives Zoro this sword. He warns him, of course, it is a cursed blade. Of course, Zoro's already aware of that. Zoro doesn't really think much of it because he's already wielded a cursed blade before. However, Tenguyama warns him that no, the curse of the Nidai is even worse than the Sandai. You may very well see images and visions that, will haunt you for the rest of your days, so only wield this if you truly are a great swordsman, if you really want to have this blade, okay? And Zoro, of course, doesn't think much of it. He's like, of course I'm a true swordsman, and he grabs the sword, and, Tenguyama, Zoro's one of the heroes of Wano, so he has no reason not to give it to him, but he's like, all right, just know what you're getting into. It may prove even harder to master than the Enma itself. And Zoro is like, all right, well, I'll take it. I'm up for the challenge, okay? So Zoro receives the Nidai. Luffy's probably in the background like, Zoro, let me use it again. It's like, no, not again. All right? So they get on the Thousand Sunny, and they begin to sail away from Wano. Everything's happy. Other than, maybe the CP0 attacking or something. This is a very happy ending in my scenario. Probably a lot happier than we're going to actually get. But everybody, like Momo and all the scabbards, like Kinemon survived. Kiku got her arm reattached. Everybody's happy and just waving to the Straw Hats. The sun is rising on the dawn of a new day as the Thousand Sunny disappears over the horizon. How's that for storytelling for you? All right. So anyway, the Straw Hats have a big epic feast. Oh my god, it's crazy. They gave us all this food from Wano. We're eating Odin. We're eating udon. We're having a great time. And as the Straw Hats begin to sail, though, throughout the day, nothing really crazy happens. But then the sun begins to set, and everybody starts to feel a little tired. They've had an epic adventure, and now they're back on the seas, traveling to their next destination, Elbaf or whatever. And eventually the sun sets, and an ominous fog just creeps in around the Sunny. They're all having a great dinner party, but now it's just eerie, okay? The temperature drops, everything's just kind of spooky, right? And before Zoro goes to bed that night, he hears a strange voice calling him, like, Zoro. Zoro's like, what? Well, shit, I've had too much to drink, whatever. I think I should probably, call it a night. And on this particular night, Zoro's actually on lookout duty, okay? All the Straw Hats have to take turns, being lookouts in the crow's nest of the Sunny. So Zoro has first watch, so he climbs up to the crow's nest, he sits down, overlooking the foggy ocean. Everything seems eerily calm, so he's just like, all right, I guess I'll just try to get some Z's. And so he just, takes his swords, and he just, tries to go to sleep. And as soon as he shuts his eyes and he begins to drift off, he hears the voice again. Zoro. Kill them all, Zoro. And he just wakes up and he's just like, huh, what? What's going on? No one's around him. Not a soul. Okay? He takes out the Nidai. He just kind of looks at it, Just like weird, He didn't really notice it at first, but being alone with this sword in particular, it's just giving off a very, uncomfortable sort of feeling, so he just grabs it, he unsheaths it. He just looks at the blade. Some moonlight, breaking through the clouds, scattering onto the sword's blade. He's just looking at it. He's just like, wow, this really is just a marvelous sword. This is truly a Meito, but I just can't shake this feeling. And this strange aura begins to pour off of the blade. And the scabbard goes flying off to the side. And he's just like, what the shit? And he's like, Zoro, you need to kill them, Zoro. And so Zoro's just like, what is this, okay? But there's this strange aura coming off of it, just like Muramasa of old. The sword refuses to be sheathed, refuses to be put down until it tastes the blood of the living. All right? Kill them all. You can be the best. They'll challenge you. And so he realizes pretty quickly, Zoro, is like, okay, there's something messed up with this sword that's communicating with him, that's telling him to slaughter all of his crewmates. Now, Zoro, of course, resists this. He's just like, of course not, no. I'm not going to kill my friends, right? And he's just like, trying to let go of the sword, but he just can't, all right? It just won't, let him. And he's like, if you won't do it. And the sword comes down and slashes Zoro's arm. And he's just like, ah! Oh! It's just like, must taste blood, Zoro. It's like, and then the aura begins to get more intense, almost as if the aura begins to make like a face. And in the aura, Zoro sees the zombified, desiccated face of a man, all shriveled up like a mummy. Not unlike Ryuma, as a matter of fact. Like, just empty eye sockets, maybe like one or two teeth in the mouth, just like, you know, and just like, this is the face of Kotetsu, the one that forged this blade, right? And it's almost as if a hand stretches out from this aura and grips Zoro's neck, and just like, you must. And then Zoro, as seemingly like in a trance, like a zombie, he just gets up, just stares at the blade, and he climbs down from the crow's nest, like, just shambling around the sunny, in the middle of the night, with a full moon just covered by clouds, obscured, stumbling around the deck. Now, while this is happening, Usopp wakes up. Okay, Usopp has to use the can. I'm assuming the Straw Hats have bathrooms on the Sunny. Pretty sure they do. But in this particular instance, Usopp's like, screw that, I'm just gonna piss off the side of the boat. So he walks out, he does his business, and he just kind of sees Zoro in the background. You know, just like he'll just stand in one spot and just kind of hover there, and then he'll move. And then Usopp turns around after peeing, and he just sees Zoro standing there. He's like, oh, Zoro, you scared me. Ah, man, are you drunk? And then Zoro, without even saying a word, stabs Usopp right through the back, and he falls down into the ocean. And the blood is just covering the blade, right? And the sword is like, yes, more, Zoro, more. And it's just like, oh God. And then so he just proceeds. I'm not going to go into graphic detail, but he just proceeds to just walk through the Sunny and just brutally stab, slash, and murder every single one of his friends. You know, he just runs his blade through Luffy multiple times. He slices Chopper's head off. You know, it just slices apart Frankie's robotic, you know, body. And none of them seem to, like, fight back, other than them just looking at Zoro and being like, why, Zoro? Why? You are our friend. Why? They fall to the ground, and all of the Straw Hats are dead. And Zoro is just by himself now on the Sunny. The mist is not even mist anymore. It's like red in color. It's like blood mist, okay? Because we're dialing up the emo meter really high on this one, all right? And the moon itself begins to go red, like in the shitty fifth movie, right? Or whatever. This is the better version of the fifth movie. And then Zoro is just standing on the deck of the Sunny, glistening, covered in blood. Like, his whole body is just drenched in the blood of his friends. And he just looks up and he just sees the moonlight reflecting off the blood of the blade. He's like, it truly is a marvelous blade. A marvelous blade indeed. And then blood begins to just seep out of the floorboards of the Sunny. Everything goes red. And even Zoro's vision begins to go red. And then all of a sudden just... Zoro wakes up. It's early in the morning. The sun is rising in the crow's nest. Lights hitting his face. He's... Shit, what? He still has his swords all next to him. They never moved. He's not covered in blood or anything like that. His arm's not cut. Nothing. He just looks out the window and just sees little birdies like, tweet, 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 tweet. Hi, Zoro, happy, you know, good morning to you. They don't actually speak, but they're like, good morning. And they just fly away. He's like, what? Huh? And then, you know, freaking Sanji just pops out of the freaking, like, the manhole cover or whatever it is to get in the crow's nest. He's just like, hey, Mosshead, breakfast is ready. He's like, wait, stop. He's like, what? He's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, we're fine. He's like, did you sleep? Okay. I wasn't walking around last night? He's like, no, you weren't. You didn't go anywhere. You didn't say anything. You're a great lookout, by the way. Whatever. Breakfast is ready. Come down. Luffy's gonna eat all the waffles. And it's just like, okay. So Zoro just goes downstairs. He's very shaken by this. He eats his breakfast. Luffy ate all the waffles, so he just has some toast, but whatever. He's just sitting there, and he's just like really kind of like, he's like drinking coffee, but he's just like, hell was that? So the day goes by, Straw Hats are still sailing, Nami's navigating, Chopper's doctoring, Sanji's cooking, all the standard stuff, the Straw Hats do. Robin's reading her books. Zoro's just kind of like lifting weights, just trying to kind of like put the night's, events out of his mind or whatever, trying to forget about the nightmare he had. Eventually, the sun goes down again. But this night is different. There's no eerie, spooky fog. The moon isn't really even full or anything. It's just like a very quiet night. And Zoro's like, okay, all right, I think we're good. I think that was just a nightmare I had, not a big deal. And so this night, he's not even on lookout. He just goes into his hammock in the men's dorm, and he just goes to sleep. And not to belabor the point, but he has the exact same nightmare again, as he does the next night, as he does the next night. The curse of the need eye, the curse of this blade, is every night, while he has it in his possession, Zoro dreams about brutally slaughtering and murdering all of his friends one after another every single night. There's probably a better way that I could have interpreted that, but hey, that's literally just the story I came up with. So there we go. That's Zoro's nightmare. That's a story. If anybody wants to animate or do anything they want with these stories or touch them up a little bit better so they're not as like scattershotted, go for it. Go ahead. But that was the first story. Now let's move on to the second one, I guess, because we have to get through 3 of these, and that one took longer than I thought. Okay, this one's fun. Let's call this one Chopper's Adventure. Yeah, this is all about Tony Chopper. Okay, all right. So this one also opens up with the Straw Hats sailing on the Sunny. This takes place in no particular, moment in the story or anything like that. Could have happened before Wano, after Wano, whenever, really. And, Chopper wakes up, and he's just like, brand new day. And he looks out his window, and he sees some snow falling, and Chopper gets really excited. The Straw Hats have been on a few winter islands before, but every time they get close to one, he always gets excited, because that's like his homeland, and he's a reindeer, of course, so he always loves, visiting winter islands, and so this is like a special treat for him. So he wakes up, and he's like, oh my god, Nami, are we going to a winter island today? And Nami's like, that's right, Chopper, it's only a couple of miles, knots away. I don't know what the maritime distance, measurement is. Nami probably does, though. It's like, yeah, Chopper, we're going to a winter island today. This is going to be great. And Chopper's like, yay! Okay, well, I'm going to go pack my bag. And so he runs off, and he packs his little backpack, and he's, like, all adorable, and he's ready to go. He's got his little coat on. He doesn't really need a coat, but he has his coat on just because it looks adorable. Whatever. All the other Straw Hats get geared up in their winter gear and everything. Sanji packs, like, a giant backpack full of food. Luffy's trying to eat it, and he's like, no, we need this for when we explore the island. Okay, so they land on the island, and it is just, it has like the beach, like a frozen beach sort of deal. There's like some seals and some walruses hanging out. Just the walrus like waves over at the Straw Hats. He's like, hey, what's up? He's like, not much, walrus. He's like, cool, just hanging out. The island begins to slope up, and there's some like really craggy, jagged mountains in the distance, and they go up so high, like into the clouds, okay? And so Chopper's like, wow, this winter island's a lot different from Drum, this one's, a little bit more foreboding and stuff, right? But Nami mentions that apparently this is an island that actually had a lot of treasure on it. Apparently this great pirate back in the day by the name of Wang Zhi apparently hid his treasure on this island. And so Nami gets the berry signs in her eyes, and she's like, we're going to find that treasure. That's why we're here today. Everybody, we're going to explore it. I bet he hid it somewhere up in those mountains, right? And so they're like, okay, we're good to go. And so the Straw Hats begin their journey up the mountain. And, Luffy and Usopp, they're all like excited, like, oh man, I wonder if we're going to fight any giant lopins or like the giant rabbits or anything. Like, I wonder what crazy monsters are going to be on this island. And Usopp's just like, Luffy, let's not talk about that, okay? I'm sure if there's any monsters, I'm sure you guys can handle it. I'll be okay, right? And so they're walking up the mountain, and several hours go by, about maybe like 4 or 5 hours, and they have a map, like an old, ripped up treasure map, and everybody's trying to kind of, like, all right, we go this way, and then this way, all right, this way, and they don't really encounter anything. That's the crazy thing. I mean, they encounter like, trees and rocks and stuff, but even after reaching a certain altitude, they stop even seeing trees. There's no animals, no birds, no nothing. But they also don't see any monsters either. So they don't see any lopins. They don't see any giant, like, Grand Line Wolverines the size of a Mack truck or anything. They really don't see anything. It's just getting a lot more like difficult. You know, the mountains are beginning to slope up to the point where it's now becoming straight up like mountain climbing, where it's just like sheer rock walls and stuff that they can't really, you know, walk up. You have to climb up, okay? And so it's been a few hours at this point, and you know, Luffy's kind of already tapped into the food supply or whatever, and so Nami's looking at the map, and she's even tired, but she's like, okay, I'm sorry it's taking so long, but I know it's right at the top of this mountain, right here at the top of this cliff, we're going to find the treasure, so we're almost done, right? And so Sanji and Zoro and Frankie and Jinbei, they're like, okay, all right, well, let's just get to the top of this cliff, and then we'll find the treasure, and let's just get out of here. The weather's beginning, it's starting to snow a little bit more heavy than now. So they're like, okay. And so they take some, you know, rope and some grappling hooks and whatever, and they chuck it up to the top, and, you know, Luffy just grabs on, he just, like, rockets up or whatever, and he's like, okay, so let's just start climbing. So they spend a few more, you know, hours climbing up this cliff. Everybody has to be very, very careful, but they finally get to the top, and they get to the top, and there's nothing there. There's nothing at the top, except there's another cliff that goes up even higher. And Nami's looking at the map, and she's like, no, it should be here. It's, oh, wait, no, oh, wait, it must be at the top of that mountain. So it's like they just keep going up higher. And all the Straw Hats, like Sanji's just like, you know, Sanji and Robin are just like, hey, Nami, you know, we're up really high, and the weather is now getting really, really bad. I mean, it's starting to get even late in the day. We should probably turn back right now. And Nami's like, no, I know I'm right this time. I'm 100% right this time. I've deciphered the map. I'm sorry it took me so long. We kept getting turned around. I'm sorry, but no, 100%. Like, look right here on the map. It's like all we have to do is just climb up to the top of this cliff, and there should be a cave. And in that cave, there'll be the treasure of Wang Ji. I know it for certain. And so they're all kind of like a little, like, I don't know, you know, Luffy even is getting kind of winded a little bit. He's eating a big chunk of the food, you know, and everybody, by the way, the entire time this is happening, the Straw Hats don't really realize how much food Luffy is eating in the background, okay? He's just kind of like stealing stuff from Sanji's backpack, not really, you know, worrying about taking stuff, and, you know, maybe some of the other Straw Hats have like little power bars or whatever, but nobody's really paying attention to Sanji and Luffy because their weather's really bad. They're wearing goggles, parkas, you know, the wind's blowing, they can't even really see in front of them. It's like, okay, well, the visibility is really low, but if we can just get to the top of this cliff, we can make it. So the Straw Hats all come together and they persevere, right? Like, because that's what they do. They're the Straw Hat Pirates after all, right? You know, Luffy uses his rubber powers to kind of stretch up. You know, Robin uses her Hana Hana no Mi to kind of like, you know, stretch her arms to like see, you know, the same thing she did maybe at the Sky Islands where she put her eyes on Luffy's arms to kind of see ahead of them so they know like which route is dangerous. Some rocks fall away. Sometimes the grappling hook falls out. Chopper goes in the jumping point to like grab Straw Hats if they fall. Like, it is a very, very, very treacherous climb, and it takes several hours. It's like going straight up for like over a mile or two, okay? And it's like any other person that attempted this would have died long ago, but these are the Straw Hats, okay? So they have to pretty much give everything they have. But after hours of climbing, it is dark at this point. You know, some of the Straw Hats, they have like little lights or lanterns hanging off their pouches to sort of illuminate everything. Frankie's got his nipple lights, so he's using those. But, you know, it's like it's like such a heavy snow at this point and sleet, like battering them. Like, you know, the light isn't illuminating them that much. But he does manage to use the nipple lights to get them. But finally, it's pitch dark. It's like 10 o'clock at night. They finally manage to reach the top of the mountain. And they climb up, and they get there, and Nami's like, okay, we finally did this. We finally got here, okay? And so she looks at the map, and she looks around. He's like, please let this cave be here. This cave has to be there. And over off to the side, she spies the cave. She actually sees it. She's like, oh my god, there's the cave. Frankie, shine your nipples on that cave. I will never say that any again, but this is very important. And so Frankie's like, Roger. He fires the lights on the cave. He's like, let's go. And so the Straw Hats all go into the cave. They all go into the cave. The wind is sort of, you know, the wind is stopped and buffeted by the cave. You know, the wind is still coming in through the entrance, but it's a lot easier to, like, move around now. They kind of take off their, you know, gear and everything. It's just like, okay, whew, all right, that was a crazy climb, but at least we finally made it into the cave, right? And he's like, okay, now where's the treasure, Nami? And he's like, oh yeah, it should just be around that bend. All we have to do is just go down this cave. It should be right there. And so the Straw Hats wander down, and they're a little bit, there's even more, like, anxiety now for, like, Zoro and Sanji and Jinbei and Robin. You know, Luffy doesn't really care. Usopp's very winded at this point. He's about ready to pass out. Chopper's also very tired, but, you know, he's built for the cold. He's got the fur and everything like that. So they turn a corner, and their anxieties seem to lift because they see a door. They actually see, like, a wooden door built into the rock of this cave, and it's like, oh, good, here it is. Now, whether it might just be because of their exhaustion or Luffy's impatience, Luffy just reaches out and grabs the knob and opens it. And Nami even, like, is so tired that she sort of, like, doesn't care at first. So she just wants this to be over. She just wants to find the treasure. But after Luffy opens the door, there's, like, a brief pause, and then Nami's like, "Wait, Luffy, no!" And then a giant rock just falls, and then another giant rock on top of that, and then another giant rock on top of that just collapses on the damn thing, and Brook gets completely shattered apart. I just picked a straw hat at random. Sorry, Brook. He just gets completely shattered, and his bones are just scattered all over the entire thing. So Brook is dead. Brook just dies, okay? Brook is completely destroyed on the ground. He's like, "Brook, no!" And just like, "Yo!" It's like, "No!" And so there's just a giant cave-in. A lot of the other Straw Hats are injured in the process. I don't know, like, Usopp loses a leg. Let's say, like, just a giant rock just crushes Usopp's leg. And so they're in the cavern. Like, "Ah! Chopper, help me!" Chopper's like, "Oh, God!" And Chopper uses guard point to kind of protect, Nami and Robin and himself around them. Okay, but he's like, "Oh, God, Usopp, no, Brook, no!" So Chopper is like, "Frankie, give me some light. I need to fix him." And so Chopper begins to kind of patch up Usopp's leg as best as he can, but this is not, like, his leg is, like, compound fractured to shit. Like, there is no way you're gonna be able to patch this up. So, basically Chopper just gives him a crap ton of painkillers and just, like, gives him a splint, but, like, he's losing a lot of blood, man. All right, it's just like, "We need to cauterize the wound," and they're like, "All right, Sanji uses Diablo Jambe or whatever," and they torch the wound, or Luffy can use Red Hawk or whatever. He torches the wound. Usopp's like, "Oh, God!" He's like on the ground. He's bleeding out. It's bad. It's bad, man. He's gonna lose that fucking leg, okay? So they're all on the ground there. And like, the dust settles, and they're in this room, and the room is still there, though. Like, the room they open, the cave-in was behind them, so the room is still there. That's what they're trapped in. They're trapped in this room, and they don't see any treasure. They just see some empty boxes and some chests, and there's just, like, some graffiti, like, etched on the wall, and the wall is like, "Hope you enjoyed the climb, Wang Xi," and that's it. And, like, in that moment, Nami is just, like, crushed and devastated, and just, like, knowing that, like, this is it. Like, she's led her crew up here for her greed, and it has led them to Usopp's leg getting destroyed and Brook shattered into a million bony splinters on the floor. So she just breaks down crying, and she's like, but the Straw Hats are still family. They're still together. So, Frankie and Robin and Sanji and Zoro and Chopper and Luffy, they all go up and they kind of, like, comfort Nami. He's like, "Nami, it's okay. It's not your fault. We can get out of this. We can get out of here, okay?" And so here's the thing, though. Luffy is, like, super confident in thinking that, like, all right, we can get out of here. So Luffy tries to go into Gear 3rd to break the boulders, but he can't. He's just like, oh, man. I'm really tired after that climb and everything. "Sanji, meat! Give me some meat so I can bust out of here." Sanji's like, "You ate every piece of meat we had!" And it's just like, "What?" And so he holds out the backpack, and the backpack is completely empty. And just like, "Oh no." And it's like, "Zoro, Sanji, you can do it, right?" And they're just like, I don't know, they're really winded. I mean, it was like a 2-mile sheer cliff to climb up. Okay? Plus, Sanji already had to use Diablo Jambe. Frankie's, the lights begin to flicker. He's just like, "My cola is completely gone." And he's just like, "Man, all my cola reserves are depleted. I can't fight. I can't do anything." And then Jinbei is a fish man. Like, his body is, like, covered in, like, water and, like, mucus. Like, so he tries to, but his fingers are so frostbitten they just fall off immediately. She was like, "Oh, God!" So he can't do anything. And so the Straw Hats are just in this room with, like, barely any light left. Like Frankie's on, like, emergency. They have some, like, torches and stuff to kind of keep some light going, but it's very, very dim. And so they're just sitting there, and it's like, "It's okay, guys. It's okay. We've been through some tough spots before, but we can get out of this." And, for the first day, they managed to hold themselves together pretty good. It keeps getting colder. They have no food. They go through all their little power bars, and every ounce of food they might have had, all the scraps and stuff they might have had on them. But, then the next day happens. And, you know, Luffy has a really high metabolism, so he's on the ground completely drained, all shriveled up like he was in Totland. And he's just like, Sanji, meat. It's like, Luffy, there's no food. It's like, meat. And so, and the next day, and the next day, and so it gets worse. It gets way worse at this point, right? Usopp just decides, you know what, guys, my leg is ruined anyway. Just cut it off and just eat my leg. It's like, Usopp, we can't. And it's like, just you got to do what you got to do. So they take out an axe and they just cut off Usopp's leg and they just start eating it, man. They just start eating that damn leg. And then, but that doesn't even satiate them for very long. It wasn't even that good. But then on like the fourth day, Usopp, Sanji, Zoro, Frankie, Nami, Robin, Luffy, they all just kind of look over at Chopper. Chopper. All that meat. Here, he's got like fat reserves, okay? He's an animal. He's more fit for being in like situations like this where he doesn't have food for long amounts of time, right? So just like, it's like a scene in a cartoon where Luffy looks at Chopper and he just turns into like a turkey, you know, just transforms into like a Thanksgiving turkey, just when the steam's coming off, and just Chopper, and Chopper's just looking at him, just like, it's okay, Luffy. I know you guys are hungry. It's okay. I won't mind. And so the story ends with the Straw Hats all devouring their friend Tony Chopper. And as a final closeout to this story, as soon as they're done picking the last bit of meat off of Chopper's bones, and they're all sitting around in a pile just like, what the hell did we just do? We ate our friend, our talking reindeer transforming friend. What do we gotta do? At that exact moment, Sabo and the Revolutionary Army breaks through the boulders, and he arrives using his Mera no Mi. He warms up the entire cavern, warms up the Straw Hats, and he's just like, I had your Vivara card, Luffy. I saw that it was waning, that you were dying. I rushed to your aid at once. And he just sees the scene. The Straw Hats are all shriveled up, very emaciated, very dehydrated, on the brink of starvation. Brook's bones are everywhere. Usopp's missing a leg. Chopper's bones are just like, where's Chopper at? And just, they see the bones and just like, oh God, oh my God. And that's, I think, where I'm going to end the story right there. Yeah, that's a good place to end it. Why not, right? Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so there's that. I have one more story for you. This video is already kind of long though, so this one's going to be the shortest one. All right, so let's just do it. This one wasn't. I don't really know where I'm going to go with this, but we'll just see. Okay. All right, so this last story involves Luffy. Okay, and it's called The King of the Pirates. Okay, so you ready for this one? I know you are, sure. Okay. So this takes place during the Sabaody Archipelago arc when the Straw Hats went up against Kizaru, Kuma, the Pacifista, all that kind of jazz, okay? Except the one difference is that Kuma is, in fact, already a Pacifista at this point. He is PX0, he has no humanity, and Kuma, along with Sentomaru, the PX1, and Kizaru, all fight against the Straw Hats. You know, you could even say Rayleigh is there as well. Rayleigh's fighting Kizaru, but it's Kuma, the PX0, PX1, and Sentomaru. And together, they fight, and they actually manage to slaughter and annihilate all of the Straw Hats except for Luffy. Okay, so they all die. You know, Kuma doesn't send Zoro away or anything like that. No, they just straight up die right there at the Sabaody Archipelago, okay? And it's a very similar scene like when they were separated where, you know, Nami and Robin, everybody's like putting out there, it's like, Luffy! And then they just get killed right in front of him, okay? And so at the end of the battle, you know, Rayleigh, let's say, manages to fight off Kizaru, so Kizaru retreats, or he witnesses the Straw Hats pretty much all die, and so Kizaru's like, well, I still must take the head of Straw Hat Luffy, and Rayleigh's like, can't you see he's already lost enough? And Kizaru just witnesses, like, the devastation of the Straw Hats, and Luffy's on the ground just crying, he's like, my crew! And Kizaru's just like, very well, the boy is broken. He will never go back to being a pirate after this. I will take my leave. And so Kizaru just like lightning bolts out of there. He just zips away. Same as that, Sentomaru commands Kuma and the PX1, like, we're done here, and they leave. And then it's just Rayleigh and Luffy. And Rayleigh goes over and tries to console Luffy, but he is absolutely inconsolable. He tries to fight Rayleigh. He's just like, why couldn't you help them? He's like, I was fighting against, Kizaru. I could say, just get out of here, you stupid old man. And so Rayleigh just leaves and just lets Luffy just, like, be there. I mean, he watches him for a little bit, but Luffy he's just, shouting and screaming and just punching trees, very much like he was at the end of, Marineford after he lost his brother. And so eventually, though, Rayleigh, he tries to console him, tries to bring him back to Shaki's place, but he just won't, He's even like, let me help you bury your friends, Luffy. Just get away from them! Get away from my Nakama! Rayleigh's like, okay. So Rayleigh just leaves, and he goes back to Shaki's bar, and he explains what happens, and he just gets super wicked drunk that night. And the next day he goes back, and Luffy is still there on the ground, just crying and weeping. His friends' corpses are still surrounding him. He's just like... And now we cut to a year later. A year later. Rayleigh still goes and visits him every day. He leaves food for him. Sometimes he eats it, sometimes he doesn't. The bodies are still there, never moved. They're bones now, picked clean by the many buzzards of the Sabaody archipelago, of which there are several. And Luffy, he's just completely, like, ruined. Like, basically, those artworks that Oda drew of the Straw Hats in, like, a bad, timeline, just think of that. Like, Luffy's completely, like, he hasn't shaved, his hair's grown out. It's turned gray. He's only like 18 years old, but his hair's already gray just from stress and mourning. Okay, he hasn't changed his clothes. They're just all ripped and ragged. They're just basically like torn cloth he's wearing, essentially. He's just filthy, just living out in the wilds of the Sabaody archipelago, right? And so he's out there, and nobody's gonna mess with him. Sometimes bounty hunters show up to try to bring him in. Luffy just, kicks the crap out of them and just moves on. He doesn't even care anymore. Anybody that comes near him, he just, like, breaks their necks. He just doesn't even care anymore. So he spends a couple of years like that. But then one day, let's say about, 4 or 5 years of living out, like, in the wilds of the Sabaody as, like, a mountain man. And Rayleigh kind of stops seeing him daily. It's just sad. He just can't bring himself to see Luffy like this every single day. And this is the person that was supposed to be, like, the next Roger, the next king of the pirates, just completely devastated and destroyed, right? And so about 5 years go by, and Rayleigh only goes to see him, like, every couple of months now at this point. But one day he goes to see him, and Luffy is actually very happy and chipper. And he actually arrives, in front of Rayleigh and actually greets him from one of the treetops. And he's just like, Rayleigh, that's so great that you're here. How's the coating going on our ship? We're going to set sail soon, and we're going to all become the greatest pirate crew ever. And I'm going to be king of the pirates. And Rayleigh's just like, oh my god. He's finally snapped. And so Luffy is just hanging out with all of the skeletons of his friends. We're here at the Sabaody archipelago, gang. This is great. I can't wait until we sail into the new world. I can't wait till we reach Fishman Island. Right, Sanji? It's going to be so cool to see those mermaids. Just cut over to Sanji's skeleton, just not moving. And he's like, yeah! And then Zoro, you're going to slice up a bunch of Sea Kings, right? And Zoro's just... they're just dead. They're just bones at this point, right? And so Luffy spends the remainder of his life in the wilds of Sabaody as a mountain man. He never shaves. His beard starts getting longer. He's like 60 years old, and he just wakes up and he's like, oh, another beautiful day on the Grand Line. Crew, what adventure are we gonna get into today? And, Rayleigh is long since dead at this point, as is, most of the people that he's known at this point. There's like, 50 years went by or whatever. But he's still there, and he's become kind of like a local legend, sort of, on the Sabaody archipelago. It's like, it's known, like, don't go near Grove. What Grove was it that they fought? I think it was like Grove, 15 or whatever. It's like, don't go to Grove 15. That's the Grove of that's Luffy's Grove. Okay, that's just what it's called, Luffy's Grove. And it's just, that's where he just lives out his fantasy every day of the Straw Hats becoming the greatest pirate crew. Like, he just makes up the adventures for them, and he's like, today we're in Elbaf fighting giants, like, that's just what he does every single day. And so, like, pirates that visit Sabaody, or like they're the next generation of supernovas. They might catch a glimpse of him, and they're just like, "Oh, you used to be Straw Hat Luffy." It's like, "I am Straw Hat Luffy, and I'm king of the pirates." It's just like, okay, yeah, sure, okay. And he's just like, "Are you trying to take my treasure?" I'm like, "No, no." And so they just leave, and so Luffy just spends his life there in that grove, completely alone. Okay, well, those were those stories. I hope they weren't too graphic. Some of those I felt like I was kind of going overboard. I don't really know how exactly that went, but I hope at least you were entertained. I mean, it's Halloween at any rate. I don't know what episode 2 of this is going to be. I don't know how many episodes there's going to be. So, like I said, comment down below on your thoughts on this and how this could go. And yeah, we'll see where this goes. Anyway, thanks for watching this first installment of Horoween 2021. I hope it was entertaining or something. Yeah, and if, like I said, if you want to write like a variation of these stories or even animate something, you ever hear of the YouTuber Meat Canyon? A lot of these, I think those would be perfect Meat Canyon, ideas, And I literally just came up with those off the top of my head. I wrote down like, all right, a story where Zoro's curse has him kill his entire crew, a story where the crew eats Chopper, and a story where Luffy just goes insane. All right, I wrote those down and just like, all right, just take it from there, I guess. Thanks for watching. Tekking and Barry and Spooky Skeleton, signing out. Later.